Welcome to today's CESI Talks session. CESI Talk is part of the WEEP project. It's a project supported by the European Parliament, and it's about raising awareness also at our members level and at their affiliates level for the benefits also of being member of the European Union. So far, we have always referred to, or very often referred to, the European Union as, let's say, a construction which undermined social standards, social laws. But we also think here from CESI sides that other sides can be shown very positive development, which can be shown also as well. Today, I would like to welcome Dragoș Păslaru. Dragoș Păslaru is member of the European Parliament. He is member both of the Econ Committee and the Employment Committee. And I think very interestingly, Dragoș is not only a politician, but an economist and is a lecturer also at university level. And he has been Minister of Labour, Family, Social Protection and the Elderly in the past in Romania. Mr. Păslaru, welcome.
Thank you so much for the invite. I mean, it's really an honor and a privilege to be together with CESI. I mean, it's actually something very important for me to try to work along and contribute with you, given the fact that you've been dedicated a lot of efforts to try to promote the social agenda at European level. And that's something very valuable for the future, as I see it right now.
Mr. Păslaru, you were not physically present at the social summit, but you were taking the floor. When looking back at it, do you think it was a success? Do you think it was a failure? Do you think the future will show?
Now, I believe that at European level, we are talking about a momentum related to the social agenda. So let me just briefly say a few words about that, and then I will respond directly to the question related to the Porto Summit. I believe that the crisis that we have been plunged in for the last 2 years has actually shown a response of solidarity at European level. I would say of unprecedented solidarity. That solidarity has manifested not necessarily only at member state level, but also civil society. I would say union organizations across Europe. There were gestures of support, of mutual support, that obviously culminated with the more visible levels, such as the European Central Bank efforts, European Investment Bank, and then the Recovery and Resilience Facility. And I would say that the sheer fact that the answer was solidarity instead of austerity was really a big step forward. Then the Portuguese presidency has actually tapped on that. And the fact that they've put on the agenda in parallel with the Commission agenda on the action plan for the European Pillar of Social Rights and then the Child Guarantee, and that the Parliament has actually accompanied this effort and trying to push it further on the political agenda, led to basically at the Porto Summit to have a convergence of leadership and actors that really don't see it just as checking a box on some non-legislative agenda that is going on, but as an opportunity to stress that not leaving people behind is not just a doctrinary let's say slogan. It's just something that it's really meaningful for the build-up of democracy and for preserving the values in which we are believing. And now the social summit at Porto. The ambition initially was that obviously at the Porto we will adopt the action plan, have some targets, and then also try to push a little bit the member states to be more proactive in engaging in the social agenda. Be that the competencies at EU level are still scarce or limited. I believe that it was a little bit of uncertainty related to the outcome of the Porto Summit from the beginning. The logistics was really complicated. For me, I received the invite actually 5 days before the summit. It was completely unclear. We didn't have a delegation per se from the European Parliament. So logistic-wise, not necessarily what I was expecting. From a political outcome thing, it could have been actually better, but a last-minute tripartite, declaration signed, and with some targets embedded, and with some sort of a understanding at member state level that there will be a council recommendation in June, pushing this agenda forward. That's something that I would say it's in the line with the expectations there. But I would dare to say, and that's how I will conclude this one, very long answer, sorry for that. It's just the fact that I believe that the Porto Summit is not the end of a process. It's just, the beginning of a process. Yeah. So I really see the Porto Summit as opening a new wave of initiatives on the social agenda that we should actually, tap onto and try to create opportunities for the European citizens. And if you see it as not necessarily as an ending, but as actually an opening, a beginning, then I would have a more optimistic answer related to the question if Porto Summit has actually reached its expectations or not. In terms of opening the agenda, the sky is the limit right now. And with the conference on the future of Europe going in parallel, there are a lot of things that can actually be done.
Yes, we were a little bit disappointed, to be very honest with you, that the declaration of the heads of states was not a little bit expressing, how could I say, stronger commitment. Mr. Pislaru, you mentioned in your tweet also, you said we need investments for resilient economies, meaning also in our discussions we've had in the past, that you put the accent or the focus also on return for societies. And you mentioned the issue of austerity. How do you see it now after Corona, hopefully after it will be over soon, that member states sooner or later will come back to austerity policies, also including not only the reduction of public spending, but also a reduction in terms of, I would call it, public or private investments. Where do you see the dangers? What should member states now, in addition, let's say, to embracing the principles or the action plan on the European Pillar of Social Rights, do or avoid?
I will give you two parts of the answer. First part is political. Second part is more related to economics and social science, generally speaking. So first part, political. I would say that right now it is really clear that if you leave people behind with their vulnerabilities, their fears, their uncertainties, they will be an easy target for unresponsible politicians, either from extreme left by going on an unsustainable agenda, and from an extreme right with a nationalist Eurosceptic agenda that will squeeze basically the pro-democratic forces in Europe to an extent in which democracy and the European values will be threatened. There will be no doctrinary debate on that. That is really quintessential. We already have witnessed in Europe, in several member states, this type of problems. We will, see soon the battle in France. That will go along the similar lines, and that will be a crucial, electoral battle for the European future. So I would say that no politician that is valuing democracy and the European values should allow people to remain outside the society, to be have-nots, and to suffer even more than they've suffered during the pandemics, because they've been literally the worst hit during the pandemics. And that's what we've seen. The vulnerable people have actually suffered the most. So that's the political answer. I would say that there should be an entente, the fact that social policy should be a priority, because otherwise we will be in trouble, from a democracy perspective. Now, the second answer is more directly related to the impact on society. I would say that when you had like financial crisis or things like that, economists tend to analyze them, supply, demand, very abstract things and so on. But when you have a health crisis with profound social implications, with, the kids of the, let's say, most wealthy people on the globe and in Europe not being able to go to school, you will understand that social crisis is actually something that leaves dire marks on society. So then if you understand that resilience, it's about prevention and about avoiding, this type of vulnerabilities to happen in the future, then immediately, the lessons learned should be that investing in health prevention and in health, generally speaking, the resilience of the health system, or investing in education, in prevention of the fact that there are kids that don't have digital competencies. So regardless that you give them a tablet, they will not be able to use it. Or, they might not have electricity back home, and then you give them a tablet, but they cannot plug it in. So these are things that have been discovered. So all of a sudden that, yes, indeed, there are corners of Europe where you don't have electricity, or you don't have kids that can actually go remotely and access education. And for those kids and even young people, I would say that they have actually lost 1.5 years, 2 years of their lives. And that will have an impact in the future. So if you are, blind enough not to see that, then indeed, we deserve our future to be grim. But I think that there are a lot of politicians, and not only politicians, a lot of people in the society realizing that when it comes to providing access and opportunity for all the people in the society, I'm not talking about sheer redistribution here. We may enter into that as well, but I'm talking about access and opportunity for normal things, for education, health, nutrition, housing, and things like that. And if you understand that these things are actually investments into, if you want to take an opportunity cost, into not having larger bills of the society, later on, or even into allowing them to get better jobs, to get paid and have, taxes paid to the budget, you will understand that these are returns. And again, which is striking is, for instance, if you go on investing in early, schooling and, early age education, the multiples are up to 14 times. That is equivalent to the kind of multiples you look in startup, technology startups, which is, by the way, very hype when you talk about, the trends and the future and so on. So if you have the same returns in investing in early education as in, very hype startups that Elon Musk might actually talk about, you understand that something is very wrong there. So that's why I'm actually, really committed of reclassifying the whole concept of social expenditure into social investment, and allowing investment in terms of social not to be considered just, brick and mortar things like building a school or a creche, but more or less focusing on the services that are there and allowing the right type of services that can provide access and opportunity. So in a nutshell, just to conclude that, I believe that with the work that I've done as a co-rapporteur on the Recovery and Resilience Facility, where I've actually asked the Commission to come up with a delegated act in classifying social expenditure in order to be sure that we understand, we have a common understanding what is to be monitored, this is an opportunity to say that impact investment can actually be social as well, and that social impact investment is actually a source of great return for society. And this is actually something that I would say it's one of the outcomes of the Porto Summit. I think that a lot of people were actually talking about that. There was, in terms of the wording, many people were talking beforehand even about investment in children, for instance. UNICEF is using that for a long time, investing in children and so on. But they were not using the term in terms of their economic meaning of it, like literally investing and getting a return on the society. So that's what I'm trying to push as an economist and as a politician that realizes the importance of, children, youth, and, vulnerable categories that need to be provided with access and opportunity.
Yeah, we've been advocating also for more social investment for many, many years now. And one of the fundamental issue was always the measurement, actually, of the return. And I look forward to see how the European Commission responds to that. Mr. Pizarro, we are already quite far. Would you speak a lot about the new EU social contract? What is the role of trade unions? What is the role of CESI in that?
Yeah, so I'm coming from a liberal group, and usually there is a stereotypical thing that the liberals are more like with employers association, and the left or S&D are more with the trade unions. I think that this is so 90s or 80s. I mean, nowadays, I think that, for instance, the role of an employers association is to care more and more about the employees, because there might be a big scarcity, and competencies of employees are actually a crucial thing that will be directly linked with the future of work and competitiveness. And at the same time, I think that trade unions are role, it's not anymore just to protect and shelter workers, but to come out with a perspective on society that actually is about access and opportunities, is about looking at families, looking at demographics, looking at sustainability. So I would say that the roles should not be seen as stereotypical as in the past. This is how I see social dialogue as well. I see social dialogue is important, not just because this is about the work, the labor relations, the contract per se. This is actually about having a broader understanding of what is happening in the society. And, diversity, that's actually the motto of Europe, united in diversity. And diversity of views is actually something enriching. This being said, I believe that trade unions are actually crucial. I've been actually following a lot of the modern agenda, the more recent agenda of CESI and ETUC and others, and I see there a lot of things that have actually been brought on the table in a very forward-looking manner. When talking about, for instance, transnational cross-border workers in Europe. I mean, that's very much related to the free movement of people. It's not just related to protecting one worker or the other. So then, the right perspective and the left perspective are having a convergence there. When, for instance, we are actually talking about the digital and the fact that we should have digital more embedded into the European social security number, for instance, or into, the single digital gateway that will allow basically people to access their rights in a faster fashion. So these are, digital, for instance, for us at liberals is a huge priority. And then we have another convergence. So there are several areas where we have actually, a common objective. So that's why I encourage basically you to go on this very, very nice agenda that you are supporting. And indeed, I would say that trade unions play a crucial role, not only because of tradition and of the social market model of the European Union, but because it's really helping the agenda getting forward. So that's how I see it. And congratulations for your great work. And you will find me as an ally whenever it comes to moving forward things for citizens in the future.
Mr. Pislaro, I thank you very much for participating in this interview. I wish you all the best for your future work. We're also supporting your agenda as much as possible, as well as we can, and we certainly find common grounds for common battles also in the future. Mr. Pislaro, stay safe. All the best to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'm sure that we will, move the agenda forward as said. Thank you.